Good morning, good morning. Great. Y'all have all this in my way. It's my podium, y'all taking it over. That's okay, just get situated here. Yes. All right, well, thank you again for being here this morning, keeping the weekly briefings going. As I do, I start off talking about public safety, just which continues to be a top priority and a strong focus for my administration, of course for our New Orleans Police Department, as well as the Office of Criminal Justice Coordination under Commissioner Stevens. Looking at the preliminary data, as I do from NOPD, directly from NOPD, the week of April 23rd through 29th continues, and as we compare it to the week prior to, we do continue to see fewer crimes against persons, including less homicides, sexual assaults, as well as fewer auto thefts from the previous week. However, that doesn't mean that we have not had incidents in our community that cause great concern for me personally. Had a great kickoff, I would say, to Jazz Fest, its first weekend. We had the very own Today Show here in the city of New Orleans with Ms. Hoda and Jenna. A 2-hour love letter to the city of New Orleans. What's greater than that? Unfortunately, that was a great kickoff to our Jazz Fest, but again, it takes me right back to the incident at Mandina's, our family-owned restaurant, a place that I frequent quite often, and of course, violence striking our residents, but also visitors in the city of New Orleans. My heart just continues to go out to the victims involved, even though it's just, if they were in the restaurant, they were also a victim. We were able to stand with the Mandina family with the reopening on Monday. I made sure that I was there, but as I said before, it's a place that I frequent. The past couple of weeks, I think I've been there twice. And prior to the incident going down, one of my executive protection teams was there a couple hours prior to that. But making sure again that we demonstrated love and support of our community and the businesses that are in our community. Senseless acts of violence is something that we cannot tolerate and should not tolerate in the city of New Orleans. We need everyone who sees something to say something, and I have to also just acknowledge the hard work of the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department, continuing to make solid arrests and investigating every step of the way to ensure that justice does definitely come down, as the king would say, like a mighty stream. So I definitely have all the confidence, I would say, in my police department to continue to do the job. And I am going to always ask for accountability across the board relative to our criminal justice system, with all of us working collaboratively to render real justice. I'm going to switch now to property taxes. This week, legislation that is fully supported by my administration and embedded in our legislative agenda is Senate Bill 127, introduced by Senator Royce Duplessis. I want to thank him for his steadfast leadership, and again, we are seeing this bill just move through. It moved through the House, and I do feel real confidence that it will continue to move on. This would allow our parish and parishes governing authorities to exempt up to $2,500 in property taxes for qualified first responders who live and work in their parish. Clearly, this speaks volumes to the city of New Orleans and Orleans Parish, and it's just another tool that we can use to retain and even attract law enforcement to our community. I would also like to thank Representative Mandy Landry for her criminal blight bill. This is a piece of legislation that my administration clearly supports. It moved through the House unanimously. And again, this is a tool, another tool in our toolbox to just fight blight throughout the city of New Orleans and clean this city up. We have put a lot of resources towards code enforcement, $10 million to make sure that we go the extra mile and go deeper in ways that we haven't seen in decades relative to blight reduction and just quality of life in the city of New Orleans. This legislation will strengthen the criminal blight statute, and it will allow for stronger penalties and even prosecution for most egregious bad actors in the city of New Orleans. We're going to start holding up a top 10 of these egregious actors in the city, because being aggressive, we will be, but it's all about making sure that the city of New Orleans is clean. This speaks to our economic viability. This speaks to public health. This speaks to public safety. And it just speaks to how we want to live in the city of New Orleans. Clean, free, quality of life, and clearly we all deserve this. My administration has placed removing blight, as I mentioned, just front and center, which speaks again to the level of resources that we have been able to put forward. As of April the 17th, code enforcement has completed 41 demolitions so far this year, with many more to come. And as I was asked here about, when we demolished several, then it was, or started to demolish, it was stopped by litigation. But we always kept forward, and as a result of that, buildings are coming down. So we're not going to stop. Even if when we're threatened by lawsuits, we're not going to stop, because it's just that important in the city of New Orleans. Again, 41 demolitions to date, 3 in District A, 7 in District B, 11 in District C, 12 in District D, and 8 in District E. Just clearly demonstrating that our focus is across the city of New Orleans, and we are not going to stop. It's something that I'm very passionate about. We'll also be watching closely as this legislation just moves through, but again, I'm very confident about that, and I'm looking forward to it hitting the governor's desk for signature. I also wanted to just speak a moment about prom and graduation season. Now, we know that proms have already kicked off in the city of New Orleans. I was greeted on yesterday morning by an email from a mother that I don't know. Now I do, kind of acquainted by email. And she reached out to me and thanking me for showing her son a little love, as I saw him and his date leaving Houston's going to prom. They stopped TD. Of course, I looked at him, told him they all looked good, and I had to fix his boutonniere. And so her email was saying not only thank you, but she was sending me a photo. Well, I thought it was the photo of his date and I, the going to prom, because I was in the middle. But it was a picture of me putting his boutonniere on. And she said, the mayor was acting like my mother prom night. But that's what it's all about. So I just wanted to share that anecdote, because I'm all in it. So I'm proud of our young people. It's a time of celebratory in terms of the season. And I want our young people, I want our parents, and everyone just to be responsible relative to this great time for our young people in our city. We have seen, and it makes me kind of want to bring this up, not only great things are happening, we had a great weekend for prom, but I just want to put a signal on a couple of things. One, obey traffic laws and all laws that are on the books. I want our businesses to understand that, 21 is the drinking age, and not use prom as a reason to kind of overstep the law and sidetrack the law. We just want to make sure that they're having a good time, but again, being responsible. I also want you all to know that, hey, we have NOPD cracking down on these types of behaviors relative to businesses, and also wanting to really beef up traffic patrols throughout the city. It's not just now, but long term, this is a goal of ours as we build our force up and bring forth these force multipliers within our department. But getting back to prom, again, for our parents, we've seen where parents are renting short-term rentals for their youth to use. This is unlawful. This is against the law. And we do not want to have what we saw at a party, at a short-term rental happen again in this community. So I'm just reminding parents that this is illegal practice and it will not be tolerated in our city. But you know what? Being responsible is something that we all can do, and it's the first step, really, to being safe. Also, I just wanted to mention to our graduates, this is a memorable moment in our lives, and you all will remember it for the rest of your lives. We want to make sure that you live a prosperous life in our city and just reach your fullest potential. And that means, again, being responsible, being violent-free, not taking the bait. Cooler heads always prevail. De-escalate a moment. Even if you see a friend, it's okay to intervene. Cooler heads will prevail. And it can be echoed over and over again, I would say, in our community and throughout our city. Another piece of information I wanted to share was utility assistance. So on today, as well as tomorrow, the Office of Housing Policy, as well as Community Development, will host a community-based energy assistance event. Now, this is something that has been ongoing. We really work very hard to meet people where they are. We understand the challenges that residents are faced with relative to utility costs. And so on today, as well as tomorrow, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Treme Center, this will be available. These services will be available. And again, we'll go as deep as the resources will allow. The implementation of this transformative program has really been a true lifeline, and we hear this from residents every time, and as we listen to them, we do our best to stand up these events. And so far, since 2021, my administration has provided over $6.5 million in emergency utility assistance, and that's been to approximately 5,500 households in the city. So it's going pretty deep. I also just wanted to give another thank you to United Utility. United Utility, and with partnership with the Bernhardt Group, they're relocating United Utility to the city of New Orleans, coming from Charlotte, North Carolina. This is a huge win for the city of New Orleans, moving their headquarters to the CBD, bringing in over 150 employees, but with the intent to grow their pipeline, grow real jobs, sustainable jobs, and careers right here in the city of New Orleans. These jobs, the minimum salary is $95,000. This is really aligned with energy transmission, and you know, this is just another example of how the city of New Orleans is right there on the front line relative to energy storage, energy production, energy transmission, and it is truly a testament to us diversifying our economy. And if we've learned nothing else, especially from COVID-19, diversifying our economy is something that we not only need to do, we have to do. And to prepare our community in this city for jobs of the future, but these are jobs right now in the city of New Orleans. This is a big deal, and again, it's worth echoing, and again, just a real thanks to United Utility, who saw something special in the city of New Orleans. And not only that, just our robust college and university and higher education climate and environment in our city. And this also speaks to our community colleges as well. You know, in partnership with Delgado, the
Job 1, Office of Workforce, is standing up a program right now specifically for training women to be linesmen, because this is a big need relative to energy transmission. So again, the city of New Orleans is on the forefront of this. We're being intentional about what the needs are, but intentional about training up the next generation of leaders tied to utility and energy in our city. And so with that, I'm going to pause.